The next chapter is the Ash-Sharika, the subject of Ash-Sharika, which is the partnership. He says here, وَالشَّرِكَةُ خَمْسَةُ أَضْرُبٍ. Let's read it together, inshallah. First, say repeat, inshallah. وَالشَّرِكَةُ خَمْسَةُ أَضْرُبٍ. شركة عنان، وهي أن يحضر كل من عدد جائز التصرف من ماله نقدا معلوما ليعمل فيه كل على أن له من الربح جزءا مشاعا معلوما. الثاني المضاربة، وهي دفع مال معين معلوم لمن يتجر فيه بجزء معلوم مشاع من ربحه. وإن ضارب لآخر فأضر الأول حرم ورد حصته في الشركة. وإن تلف رأس المال أو بعضه بعد تصرف أو خسر جبر من ربح قبل قسمة. And then this is the first two types. So here he says first والشركة خمسة أضرب. الشركة is the partnership. So الشركة from الشرك is having a partner. So here in the subject of transactions is الشركة when it comes to the عقود, to the contracts. Because as the ulama, they make the two categories of الشركة. There is شركة أملاك and شركة عقود. شركة أملاك in ownership, which is a sharika. You have two or three or more, they're partners in owning a building, for example, right? So this is sharika, it's form of a partnership, but not as a tijara or a trade or work, just partners in ownership. But this is not what is mentioned here. What's mentioned here is in a sharika is sharikatul uqud, sharika with contracts, with being in business and trade and work, having companies together, things like this. So he says وَالشَّرِكَةُ خَمْسَةُ أَضْرُبٍ. Five types, five cases or five types. And these types are not the only types of sharika or partnership, but all the different types of partnerships can come as branches from these five. So you can even look at them from a broader perspective, as we would see, inshallah ta'ala. So the first one, he says شركة عنان. شركة عنان. شركة عنان. العنان comes from the عنان الفرس, the خيل, the horse, the rein of the horse. When they say كفرسي, you know, when the two horses are in a race, so they call this as their head to head, right? So they're next to each other, they're equal in the race. So sharikatu ainan, that means you have more than one person as partners together in a business or in whatever deal that they're upon. And that's what he talks about it here. وهي أن يحضر كل وهي أن يحضر. يحضر means to bring. So he would bring each and every one of them. كل من عدد. عدد means numbers. So it can be 2, 3, 400. So كل من عدد. So each one كل أن يحضر كل. That means and كل he refers to من عدد from numbers. That means every person he brings as it says later من ماله from his money. جائز التصرف. Each one has to be جائز التصرف. Who's are جائز التصرف? He has the ability to deal with money and contracts, deals with money that as a result of that, contracts comes in place. So this is the person being حر, بالغ, Rashid, not a child, and so on. So من ماله نقدا معلوم. From his wealth, from his money, نقدا, النقد is the money. معلوما known. So this is شركة عنان. Before we continue. So you have numbers of people. This is عدد. And each one of them brings, each one of them is جائز التصرف. So you cannot have a company or a partnership with a child, for example. So they all have to be جائز التصرف. And each one will bring from his money. Clear, known amount of money. So as you see here, more than one condition here. So the number, if it's one, of course, it's not a partnership, it's an obvious thing. So they have to be جائز التصرف and they have to bring money. And the money here, gold, silver, like this. Cannot be anything else. So cash money. So وهي أن يحضر كل من عدد جائز التصرف من ماله from his money نقدا معلوما. known نقد. known money. ليعمل فيه كل. ليعمل فيه. For to work on this money كل. All of them, they would work together as partners dealing with this money. So the money, one brings 10, one brings 15. They don't have to bring the same amount of money. So they bring different amounts of money, and that becomes all together as one company, one partnership, and they're all working in the company. They're all working. One would do the technical part, one would do the managerial part, whatever. So they're all working. Or if it's a trade, someone is doing packaging, someone is, so they're all working. ليعمل فيه كل على أن له من الربح على أن this is now, then what's the company is how they're going to compensate one another, the outcome of the company or the partnership على أن له من الربح, that he will have for himself الربح or the profit جزءا مشاعا معلوما. جزءا is a portion or a part. مشاعا that means that applies, it's mixture of whatever the profit comes is not from that part of the business. مشاعا, that means it's for the entire partnership, from the entire company. And to the opposite of that is when someone, for example, would say, if they sell different products. So someone, one of the partners will say, I'm going to take the profits from these items only, or you take from the profit of this, and I'll take from the profit of this, or things like this. That's not masha'an. It has to be musha'an. That means the profit from the entire partnership at the end of the year. Then they take from this ribh or the profit that is musha'. Musha' that means split among all of them. And we talked about al-ard al-masha' is when you have a piece of land that is owned by more than one. And it's musha', that means they did not set the limits. They did not say you get the north part and then the south part. There's no such a thing. It's just a piece of land that nobody knows which part is his. They're both partners in it. So that's why if someone wants to sell his part, if you remember the ruling, if it's masha' like this, he cannot without the permission of his partner. Otherwise, how he's going to sell which part? But if it's already organized, then he can. So this is the masha'. So the ribh or the profit has to be juz'an musha'an ma'luman, known also. Meaning, one will get 20%, one will get 40%, one will get 60%. So they decide among themselves according to how much money, how much work, how much expertise, whatever they decide is fine. But as long as it's the profit is musha', not from one specific item of the company, and it's known the percentage from the profit. If there is loss, they all incur this from the رأس المال, from the money that they put. So this is شركة عنان. So you have to be clearly understanding this type of sharika or partnership that it's upon the individuals. The individuals and each one has money. So all of them that are part of the work and they all give some money. Clear? The second one الثاني المضاربة. المضاربة, the one that is famous, and it comes from الضرب في الأرض, which means to travel and things like this. So, and it's mentioned, it's called mudaraba because that's the original form of it, where people would, someone travels for trade and they might not necessarily have the money. So someone will give them money to buy and sell, and then they will split the profit according to the percentage that they agree upon. So al-mudaraba here, the first one was there's each one is partnered with their money and their work. Al-mudaraba is one with money and one with work. So he says وهي دفع مال معين. To دفع mean that you give, someone has money, he will give his money. مال معين, معين that means very specific amount. معلوم, known clearly. مال معين because it can be gold or silver or money or dollars or pounds or whatever. So it has to be معين, معلوم, known, how much. لمن يتجر فيه. So one will give the money to the one that would يتجر فيه, he would work in this money, whether it's for trade or he, it doesn't matter, doesn't have to be that he buy and sells. Someone will make a company, but he needs money and he has the expertise, so he would take the money from someone and he would work with that money. لمن يتجر فيه. Then بجزء معلوم. The profit will be بجزء معلوم, with a portion that is known, again 20%, 30% for the person of the money according to what they agree. مشاع, also مشاع, from من ربحه, from the profit. So no one would say, I will take only from the profit of this item or that item. So at the end of the year, for example, how much the company profited, then it's already going to be distributed according to the percentages that they agreed upon. So if the norm is, and this doesn't have to be that way, that 50% of the money to the رأس المال, to those who have money in the company, and 50% to those who worked in the company, for example. So if you have two people working and one person is financing this, so at the end, the profit will be split into 50% for the person that gave the money, and then 25-25 for the partners with their work, or whatever they agreed upon. So because the work can be different, and the money that the person with the money can agree to 40%, 30%, then the rest will be according to those who work. So this is المضاربة, وهي دفع مال معين معلوم لمن يتجر فيه بجزء معلوم مشاع من ربحه. And this is مشاع من ربحه. And of course, the benefit of that is very clear. And the loss is upon the money, not the effort. So those who do not put in money, they don't incur loss money-wise because they already put their effort. So if at the end of the year, the money lost, there was a loss, not profit. So who would bear the loss? The people that put the money, not those who worked, because they already worked and they didn't get anything, did not get anything. And that's why when it's a sharika, it's a partnership, it is not permissible to take from the company or the partnership to the partners. It's not permissible for them to take money like a salary from the partnership, unless it's a complete separate contract. Right? So 2-3 partners are together, one with money, one with work. Can the one with work take a salary from the partnership? No, because he's a partner. He does not take a salary. He takes profit at the end. Is it permissible for him to get a contract? Yes, but has nothing to do with the sharika, with the partnership. So it becomes a complete separate transaction, that as if they hired someone and he is the someone. So he gets a salary for his specific job that he would do that is different than the work that he would do as a partner, right? Or he takes money as a loan, and then at the end they would see the profit, and then they would take that away from them. Okay, so but we're not mentioning this here. We're talking about المضاربة, the simple form of المضاربة. One has money, وهي دفع مال معين معلوم لمن يتجر فيه, to the one that would work in this money بجزء معلوم مشاع من ربحه. So with a part that is known, مشاع again, من ربحه, from his ربح. They can specify things, as some of the companions رضي الله عنهم, when they get into partnership, they would say very clearly, do not put my money in a behemoth. I don't want my money to be used to purchasing a cow or an animal, because the animal might die. He's gonna give him the money and he's gonna work, right? Whatever he sees feasible, but he would make conditions. Do not use the money for purchasing an animal. Do not use the money to go for in the sea, to travel on the sea with the trade. Do not take my money to the sea because it might drown, and so that he has to agree to the conditions, right? But then he takes the money, he with the amana, with the trust, of course, he do whatever he does, and at the end, they would distribute the ribh, the profit, accordingly. And this was widespread at the time of the Prophet والسلام, with the companions radiallahu anhu, and the Prophet والسلام, which is well known. This is al-mudarab. But then some of the cases here, وَإِنْ ضَرَبَ لِآخَرَ فَأَضَرَّ الْأَوَّلِ وَإِنْ ضَارَبَ لِآخَرَ. ضَرَبَ is the verb, the past tense. So the one that is working with his effort, ضَارَبَ لِآخَرَ. He took the money from A to use it for his trade. And then he made another mudaraba with someone else. And that happens when people take money from more than one person. So he made mudaraba for someone else, but then as a result of that, فأضر الأول, he harmed the first one. The first one was the original contract. So now he went and he asked for someone else for his money, and that harmed the first one. Harmed them because whatever deal is, it might be that the first contract was, there's no way that he can work well with having more than another person, especially if it's different items, different ways. It's not the same thing. So as a result of that, he did not work well with the first person's money. And that, of course, can be, fixed or shown with evidence, with clarity in front of the judge or so. So this is general ruling, that if he harmed the first by using someone else's money, as ضارب لآخر. This is what ضارب لآخر. وإن ضارب لآخر فأضر الأول. He harmed the first one. حرم, it's haram if he does this. ورد حصته في الشركة. And he would return his حصة. He would return his, الحصة is the portion or the share or the profit that he gets from the second mudarab. So if he took 100 from the first one to, what do you call it, mudaraba? To work with his money, to use his money, invest the money of someone. And then he took another portion of money from someone else. And that was harmful to the first one. He profited from the second one. Say, for example, 100, right? And the deal was that he's supposed to, the ribh or the profit is 50-50 with the first one. The profit from the second one, he has to give it to the first one. His profit will be considered that because he harmed the first one, so it will be given to compensate the first one as if he gained the profit like the second one. So that's what ورد حصته في الشركة, because he harmed the first one. Clear? He's gonna? Uh-huh. No, no. The second one, they have a deal. So 50-50. So the 50 for the second one, he will get it. But the 50 for the man that harmed the first one, it's gonna go to his partner from the first mudarab, because he harmed him. Right. But it doesn't have to be two separate businesses. Can be the same business or two separate business, as long as he harmed the first one. So that has to be looked at, is did he harm him or not? So if he harmed him, then he has to return if he profited from the second one. And it's haram, haruma. Even if he gives him a portion of the profit, but he's still committed haram because he harmed the first one. So the uqud, the transactions or the contracts has to be honored the way the both parties understood it. Right? And there's so many of this. Someone might say, well, my work with him is from 8 to 5. I'm free to do whatever I want afterwards. He might be true, but then he gets himself so tired afterwards by having another job, and then he comes in the morning, he's not able to fulfill the first job. So the first one has the right to say, you cannot do it. You have to rest, or otherwise you're gonna harm me that way. But if he's not harming him, that's different. So things has to be considered like this. Or he worked for a competitor, for example. Whatever. If he has a contract with one, he should not harm him in any way or form. But mainly for the mudarab. See? No. He does not give all the profit, but he gives what would compensate for the one, the first one, he harmed him. The harm was like 30%. Right. So he's gonna give him what fits, what makes the 30%, because it has to be assessed how much harm that happened, so he would compensate for it. The last مسألة in the مضاربة, and we'll stop here inshallah. وإن تلف رأس المال أو بعضه بعد تصرف أو خسر جبر من ربح قبل قسمة. If رأس المال is the capital, تلف means ruined, is gone. Or أو بعضه, or some of it, بعد تصرف, after they already invested, they worked in the money. So the mudaraba, one gave the money and the other guy, he took it, right? And he's supposed to travel to do trade. So the money is lost, some of it, but after already he dealt with it. So he purchased something, he profited, then he purchased something else and he lost something. So after dealing, التصرف here meaning the actual business started. So it was not just taken as, and he's going to start next month. So التصرف here, that means after the actual business started. وإن تلف رأس المال أو بعضه, all of it or some of it after the business starts. أو خسر, or he lost. So the lost or loss in the trade or the business, that's different than telif. A telef is when it's broken or it's ruined, versus that he lost in the business itself. So all of that is the same ruling. جبر من ربح قبل قسمة. جبر, al-jabr is to fix something broken. Right? Al-jabr is to fix something broken. So al-jabr here, jubira, that means he's going to be compensated min ribhin, from the profit before it got distributed. So at the end, which is an obvious thing, right? So at the end of the year, the profit was 100. But the رأس المال that they started with was, say, for example, 50, right? Something happened to رأس المال, to the capital itself, became 40 or something. So before they distribute the profit, they have to compensate for رأس المال first. They have to bring the capital first to its original price, and then whatever is left is the profit. I guess this is what people would usually do, right? So, and رأس المال can be a machine, can be something, a car, for example. So a truck, and someone purchased a truck and someone is driving it. So an accident, and there's profit. They made money as a result of using the truck. So they fix the truck with the profit first, And then whatever is left then is to be distributed according to the percentage that they have in the partnership. Clear? So جبر من ربح قبل قسمة, before they distribute. So this is المضاربة. If it's already distributed and they after or before, after that, then it's fine. Then it's for the next year. Yes. But before they distribute the profit, then they fix whatever was in the رأس المال, in the capital first, and then they give the profits as a result of this. Is it clear? طب should we read it again? فصل. When we're reading it, make sure that you understand it إن شاء الله. والشركة 5 أضرب. شركة عنان وهي أن يحضر كل من عدد جائز التصرف من ماله نقدا معلوما. الثاني المضاربة سوري ليعمل فيه كل على أن له من الربح جزءا مشاعا معلوما. الثاني المضاربة وهي دفع مال معين معلوم لمن يتجر فيه بجزء معلوم مشاع من ربحه. وإن ضارب لآخر فأضر الأول حرم ورد حصته في الشركة. وإن تلف رأس المال أو بعضه بعد تصرف أو خسر جبر من ربح قبل قسمة. Is it clear? The Arabic is clear. It says here please clarify the first part of the topic where the wakil should not take qabd in disputes. What disputes is in context here? The dispute is that he is a wakil in a dispute. So you have a dispute with someone, so you have someone to act on your behalf in the dispute. You have a lawyer, for example. So the lawyer will deal with the dispute in your behalf, right? So this lawyer, if you have a dispute with someone, and as a result of the dispute, you're gonna get money back. Does the lawyer has the right to take the money in his hands and give it to you? Because he's acting on your behalf. This is what the mas'ala is about. So he has to have a permission to do so. He is acting on your behalf to deal with the dispute. If as a result of the dispute you get money, then you have to give him the permission to take the money. So part of the contract between you and the lawyer, that in it will be included that he can take money for on my behalf and things like this. Otherwise, he has to have that authority. Okay, there's many questions, inshallah. ووكيل قبض يخاصم. Yeah. Right. If he's already been taken money, then he can make the dispute. No. طيب. What if a person had situations he loses money? Oh, there's a question here. What is this? No. For Sharia, for شركة أو for شركة المضاربة. الآخر who receives the profit. Please clarify, does the second contract become haram after the harm of the first contract, or is the choice of making the second contract wrong? And if so, how is this to be fixed? Yes, it's haram for him to have another contract of mudarab. It's haram for him because it harms the first one. It's not haram in the absolute sense like this. It's only haram if it harms the first one. So if it harms the first one, since عقود الشركة is from the عقود from the contracts that are جائزة, it means he can break it anytime and he knows that it harms the first one, then he has to cancel that second one because it's haram to harm the first one. I hope that answers. If the partnership is resolved, how is the capital investment divided, or does it go to the primer invested in mudaraba? Does the invested own the company or the one that works have a share? It's according to the original contract between both. So if they 50%, 50-50, that means 50% for those who are partners with money versus 50% for those who work. So if they dissolve the company, then when everything else is, has a value, so it's to be distributed. The money goes to the person of the money. The